All right. Good afternoon, everybody. We appreciate you coming to our Coval Ask Us Anything webinar. This will be a lot of fun. So we're excited to have you all with us. And thank you for sending in your questions ahead of time. That'll help this go really, really smooth. What we're wanting to do and what we intend to do is to answer your most common questions, the ones that are on your mind right now. And by the way, if you're attending live, feel free to use our Q&A chat feature. If you randomly have, oh, I have another question, no problem. Send that into our Q&A chat feature and we'll answer that now, or if we run out of time, if we're not able to do it today, either myself or one of our other home consultants is going to reach out to you and we'll answer that question. Okay. So there's so many questions that go into home building. Building a house is not easy. It's not easy. There's a lot of things that go into it, as you might imagine, but we can do it. And we've done it over and over and over and over. Coval's been building houses for, I think we're getting into our 12th year now. I think October will be 12 years. And we're building roughly 50 to 60 houses a year now. It's grown a lot and it's been awesome. It's been awesome, even with all the changes and things that have happened with COVID and all these other kind of things. We've been pushing through building houses, not only on time, but ahead of schedule often. And yeah, it's just been a blessing and a privilege for us to be able to help so many individuals and families get into a house that's not the typical house, that's not an old house, that's not an old overpriced fixer-upper, that's not some weird split level thing. You know, it's like a house that you pick, that you maybe even modify or customize a little bit. And it's not in a neighborhood where you don't want to live. It's not sandwiched next to somebody else. It's on your own property. It's awesome. It is absolutely awesome, but it definitely comes with a lot of questions. Some of the most common questions that we get are, how much is all this going to cost? You know, what is my responsibility? What is your responsibility? How does the lending work? Will you help me with this? Will you help me with that? How long is this all going to take? How much money is this going to take? We're going to answer a lot of those today. Those were some of the most common questions we got. So yeah, again, use our Q&A chat feature. And also, for those of you who are watching this recording, maybe this is a year from now, so I'll say hello from the past. Give me an email, a call, text me if you have a question. Say, hey, I saw this video, you talked about X, Y, and Z, but I want to know a little bit more about that. Yeah, feel free, give us a call. We're not going anywhere. So yeah, let's jump right into it. Again, if you have a question that pops up while you're watching or later with the recording, give us a call. We're happy to answer your question. So I have a whole list of questions here. We're going to go down. We're going to spend 20 minutes together, maybe 25 minutes together, depending on time, and get all of these questions answered. I'll try to be as thorough as possible. So yeah, let me get on my soapbox really quick. This will be fun. Okay, so which one do I want to start with? I'll tell you what, let's start with, we have 2 or 3 questions that directly relate to some of the content that we have that maybe I can break down a little bit more clearly. Okay, so I'll pull this up on our website and maybe that'll help kind of go through a few things so you can see it visually too. Okay, here's a good question. I have people ask us this all the time. They'll just basically say, well, the price on your website says X, Y, and Z. Okay, it's a $300,000 house or $500,000 house. Does that cover the land development, the permits, any of that stuff? Does it cover all of that stuff? None of that stuff? I've even had people say, well, the price on your website says starting at, 300,000. Okay. Does that not include the foundation? Is that only labor, or is that only materials? Is there a split? Is there hidden costs? Any of that kind of stuff. So let's talk about what does a budget look like, okay? So here's something, let me, I'm gonna actually share my screen here. Let's do this. All right, cool. That should be coming through for you, I hope. I'll give it a second if it's, buffering or whatever. Give that just a second. Okay, I think we're all set. All right, cool. So let's look at this together. Okay, so what does it actually cost to build a home? Okay, this is an example based on the average project. Okay, and obviously your project will be unique. Everybody's project has some level of uniqueness. And I tell a lot of my clients, I tell almost all of my clients, two words that you'll start hearing more and more and more and more is it depends. Okay. How much does this cost? Well, it depends. How long is this going to take? It depends. A lot of this depends on what do you want, but also what does your property need? And then, what is going on in the market, right? Okay. So let's go through this budget example we have pulled up here. In this example, the home price is listed at 305, 305,000. Maybe that's a 3 or 4 bedroom house. That's probably not a 6 bedroom house, right? With how costs are. So that's probably the average house, 3 bedroom. Doesn't have to be. Maybe you want a very standard house. You don't want anything fancy, nothing luxurious. You just want a brand new house built up to code, ready to go. You want a house that's good quality, going to last forever, but you don't need the Taj Mahal, right? So that could be a very good house right there, 305,000 at today's market prices. Okay, maybe the land is going to be 125,000. Doesn't have to be. I would think that's a pretty average piece of land, but it doesn't have to be. What if you bought a piece of land that's 50,000 or 75,000? It's probably going to be harder to develop. It probably needs a little bit more love. Okay. If you buy a piece of land that's 150 grand, 175,000, $200,000 piece of property, here's the thing. It's probably in a better location with better views and all that stuff as you'd probably imagine, but it also might have a well drilled on it already. Maybe it already has a driveway and power installed. Maybe it's cleared. It already has a building site ready. Somebody took the time to develop it and then sell it so that it would be easier to sell and more valuable. Great. You're probably going to pay a little bit more money for a property like that, but it's going to save you time. And that's always the battle of time versus money. Time is the enemy of a project. So if you can save time anywhere, fantastic. If it fits your budget, even better. So that's the home and the land price. These two are really going to fluctuate depending on what exactly you need. What do you want, right? Now, these other ones, I'm going to actually change colors here. These other ones, C, D, E, F, G, H, these right here, these are the variables, okay? These are the variables, and obviously sales tax and then having a contingency fund. These are important too. I'm going to highlight these separately. Okay, so let's talk about what we have in yellow here. Okay, in yellow, again, it really depends upon the property. So hiring a permit consultant, somebody who's going to run all your permits for you and do your planning, that's a fantastic idea. I think that tends to be, planning and permitting tend to be one of those areas that can be really difficult for some clients, just filling out all the forms, and there's so many policies and procedures. So that's a great idea for you to hire somebody to do those things. And there's a couple other questions where people asked about more information on the process and what we're responsible for. So we're going to circle back to some of these. But yeah, utilities, site prep, all the permits, these things, they all kind of go together in certain ways. So I'll give you a few examples. Let's say, just looking at this on line D, your utilities are about $25,000. Okay, power, water, sewer, gas, cable, all that kind of stuff, all your utilities. Maybe you buy a piece of land that's flat, but it's raw, it's got bushes and trees and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you got to drill a well, you got to dig a hole and have a septic system installed. You got power to run out to the property, temporary power for the project, then you got to hook it up to the house, right? And so there's hookup fees and all this kind of stuff. But maybe you buy a piece of land that's a more expensive property, but maybe it already has a few of those things. So the scales can kind of balance themselves out. It just depends on the property. Now, site preparation and excavation, trenching and clearing, that is really specific to the property. I'm from Florida, where it's flat, right? It's super flat in Florida. You come here to Washington and it is hilly and slopey. There's mountains and it's gorgeous, but certain properties will have water issues. They will have critical areas. Sometimes the soil needs some love. Sometimes there's some slopes that need to be trimmed down. There's all different kinds of stuff that goes on with the property. So it really comes down to what kind of property are you looking at. And then the permits and studies, that's all going to be tied in there too. Flat work, driveways, sidewalks, porches, patios, line G. That's a really interesting opportunity for you to do some having some flexibility in your budget. Maybe instead of spending $10,000 on a big fancy concrete driveway or like an asphalt driveway, maybe instead of doing that, you just do gravel and cut several $1,000s off of that budget. It's great that you have that flexibility. Maybe instead of doing a giant, 50-foot deck off your back porch, maybe instead do a 10-foot pad, just concrete, and later extend it and do something else. You don't have to do any of that stuff. In fact, to get your inspections passed in most counties and cities, as far as I know right now, you only need a little like 3x3 pad outside of every door, outside for stepping out. That's what the inspectors are looking for at a minimum. So yeah, there's lots of flexibility in there for you to kind of play with the budget a little bit. Okay. And by the way, exterior painting, things like this, that's an opportunity for you to do some work yourself if you wanted to. You might just get your son or your brother or whatever and your friend and get some pizza and paint the house yourself. You can absolutely do that. We do all the interior painting as a standard. Exterior painting, we can do it. It is an upgrade. And I think it's pretty competitive when it comes to hiring another professional painter. So a lot of times folks will just have us do that as well. But if you want to buy your own paint, get a ladder, get a spray gun, go for it. Absolutely go for it. Okay. Sales tax and contingency fund. Sales tax, it is what it is. Gotta do it unless you're, on tribal land, you're a tribal member in Washington. But typically 9% is the average sales tax. I think here in Tacoma, it's more like 10%. Down in like Lewis County, it's around 8%. So it just depends on where the property's at. And then I think one of the most important things to talk about is that last line. Contingency fund, 10%, avoid surprises. Okay, we put that in there for two reasons. Number one, no one can predict the market with absolute certainty, right? You don't know what's going to happen. Things can fluctuate. Building a house takes a long time. So from the time you initially estimate it to the time that you actually install something, pricing can change. That's how it is with every builder. But the second reason that we put that in there is just to give you some wiggle room, because until you're actually working through things, it can be almost impossible to know every single little teeny tiny cost. Something that might not be thought about as well, you got to have insurance to build on your land for a project. You have to have builder's risk insurance. What about a porta potty? What about something as simple as debris cleanup, and maybe you have trash cans or dumpsters or trailers or something like that. You might even want to hire that out. Maybe you want to have once or twice or three times during the project have a professional cleanup crew come in and just go through everything and just totally get through some of those more difficult phases where there's lots of dust or scraps or things like that. So yeah, plan for that. Don't make a budget and fill the budget. You want to leave some wiggle room in there. Okay. I hope that's helpful. Let me stop sharing my screen there. So there's quite a few things. Oh, hey, Gary. I didn't even know you were on here. Let me unmute you really quick. Thanks for joining us. And there we go. I changed your name. How you doing, Gary?
Oh, doing well. And you're doing exceptionally well. Appreciate the way you're outlining this and keeping it simple as we make it.
Oh, I appreciate it. No. And yeah, I think I covered maybe 3 or 4 questions. I was sharing my screen, so I couldn't see you. I don't know at what point you hopped on, but I'll tell you, if you're interested in taking one of these questions, you want to do one of these other ones?
Sure. What do you got?
Okay. Well, I just spent a little bit of time talking about the process and budgets. I think one of the most common questions that I definitely get, I'm sure you get this too, is it's really a 2-part question. It's like, what are the responsibilities that the homeowners have? Can they do some of the work themselves? Where does the separation happen between what we do to help our customers and what the customers are responsible for? What would you say to that?
I don't want to, yeah, I've heard you certainly referred to that in what you've been saying to this point, going over that journey map is a good way to start. We feel we're glad that we have simplified what is otherwise a very complicated process. One of the ways in which we believe we've done that is one of our internal business principles is you will never lack a resource. Joy may have touched upon this, but the fact is from the very, I was a couple minutes later because I was just meeting with a client and she needed excavators. So I told her that before she'd get home today, she'll have 4 or 5 excavators. That is just one example, whether it's a septic designer, septic installer, whatever it might be. There's no limit to whatever you need. We've got folks, and they're all your decisions. We honor that, the fact that we're not going to get in your way in that area by any means. But at the same time, we don't want you wondering who to call and the credibility of any organization that's going to contribute to the accomplishment of your goal. Meaning that these are folks that we're confident of, that we trust, that we believe that will reflect likely very well upon our name and get the work that you need done at a cost that makes sense for everybody. So our approach is we're in this together. This can be a very difficult process, or it can be a much simpler process. And being a smaller builder, we're confident in the fact that we've got a greater level of control over things that might not otherwise be positively influenced by a bigger builder that has many more projects than we do. So ultimately, as Joey referred to with the customer journey map, you're going to get us to what's called foundation ready. And we're going to take it from there. But beyond that, though, Joey, was there anything specific you wanted me to touch upon?
No, nothing specific. It's just that's a common question. I appreciate your perspective on it, Gary. I don't know if you ever use any of these kind of analogies like this, but that's the way, working with me, my brain tends to go towards a picture. I like just encouraging our clients. I ask them, do you have a gym membership? Have you ever had a personal trainer? Now, whether you go or not, you can see the result, right? So if you're going to have a personal trainer, they're not eating the health food for you, right? They're not lifting the weights for you, but they've done it a million times. They've helped, dozens or hundreds of clients do it. The process works. You can be confident that if you do the work, if you do what we're encouraging you and sort of coaching you to do in the process, that it's going to work. It always works. So yeah, there's going to be checklists and follow-up meetings and calls and schedules, and there's all this stuff to get you from point A to point B. So we have a great team of people that has a ton of experience to help you do that. So yeah, I get a lot of clients who it's funny, they're like, can you give me a list of all the stuff that I have to do? And I almost want to be like, you don't want me to send the list. You don't want to do that, because if you had to if you had to look at all that stuff, you'd be like, oh my God, what am I going to do? We're helping you. We're going to help you each step of the way, and it can be like just one bite at a time to get all that done. But yeah, and anything you'd add to that, Gary?
No, I think the gym membership's a good analogy. And like you're suggesting, whatever goals you had joining a gym, you don't want to think about all the effort that's going to be required to get to that goal. You just want to take it really one step at a time, and that's what we'll help you do.
Exactly. I think if a personal trainer gave you the list of every single thing that you're signing up for the next year, you just can't do it. But no, taking it one piece at a time, one piece at a time is what makes sense. That's what everybody ultimately really needs, is just what's the next step. Okay. All right. I think we covered that pretty well. I guess the only other thing I might add to that question about, what responsibilities does a homeowner have? When you go on our website and you look at our standards list, that's a very easy way to say, okay, here's all the stuff that Coval's doing. Okay, now we got to think about, what does your project need? All those other things. Okay, I've had clients say, well, do you guys include the foundation? Yep, it's on our standards list. Boom, boom, boom. It's all there. Everything from the roof to the foundation to the cabinets, all that stuff. We got it all covered. And then we're going to help you fill in all those other gaps. So even if we're not doing something directly, just like you said, Gary, we're helping you through each step of the way. You're building this house for yourself, but you're not doing it by yourself. Okay. Okay. Another good question. Let's see. We had a lot of questions about land. Will you help me find land? Will you help me with feasibility? Will you help me with XYZ? How do you typically answer that, Gary?
Well, yes to all the above. We'll give you right away, before we even meet with you, we'll give you what we call an expert land agent. And although, again, this is your decision, we're only going to encourage you to use such an expert in the fact that the person that may have helped you to buy your home, that you might be friends with, related to, or just simply trust. They know homes, existing homes, really well. It's not likely they know land, and the two components could not be more different. Without a knowledge of land, as one of our expert referrals would provide, you could spend money. You're certainly going to waste some time, in our mind. No fault of the existing home agent. It's not their expertise. You could spend money on a feasibility that you might have been able to avoid with a little research on the side of the land expert. So how that works? Find land, and this is just one of those things that, if you accept it, you're empowered. You're better off for having done so. This is the hardest part. Finding land is the hardest part of this whole thing. But you don't want to compromise. You got to be patient. You got to be patient up to the point you find something you want, and then you have to lose that patience and act immediately. Because if you like it, almost certainly other people are going to like it behind you. And we've had too many really nice families that have found their ideal piece of land and hesitated, and then suddenly someone else has swooped in and taken it. It's just an earnest money down payment. You get it back if you change your mind tomorrow. So it's just kind of, no, this is mine for now. But beyond that, then the land expert agent's going to send you emails. They're going to give you a phone call. They're going to say, hey, according to your definition, I think there's a piece of land over here. I'm going to shoot you a link. You tell me what you think. They're not likely going to go out and look at the land with you. It's not a real estate agent arrangement. Maybe, more often than not, no. Everything that you're going to need to know is on that ad, but by all means, you want to drive out and look at it, see the area, the neighborhood, all that is involved. We're going to suggest a couple things you want to stay away from. Heavy slope. We used to do basements. We don't choose to do basements anymore, and it's to your advantage that you don't either. If you want that extra square footage, build up and not down. Drainage issues and additional unnecessary costs are what we're looking to help you to avoid. So beyond that, then your land agent is going to negotiate a feasibility study. We suggest it be no less than 30 days. And during that time, the feasibility study consultant is going to come in for you and help you to make an educated decision. Yeah, I want the land, but is the land buildable and for how much? And then they'll give you those facts. You'll make an educated decision. So that piece of the budget puzzle, no doubt we've already met with you. So you know how much the home is going to cost. You already know how much the land's going to cost. Now you know how much the land's going to cost to build upon it. So now you've got your three primary components of the overall project. And you make a decision. Yes, I want this home built on this piece of land. And at that moment, feasibility is positive. You told the seller of the land, yep, it's mine. I'll take it. Terms that we've negotiated. At that moment, you can call Joey or I and said, I've got the land. I don't want to waste a day before I order this home. And we begin the process with you on our end. But the only thing we'd say is try to avoid discouragement. You're probably going to look at 3 or 4 more pieces of land before you find the one you want or the one you're actually going to buy. But the beauty of this whole process of an on your lot build is starting with the land. We think we've got it backwards when you see a home you like and you've got to accept everything around it. No, you start with the land and then build upon it. And in the end, you're much happier with what you've accomplished. And as I said to the young woman that just ordered a home, be proud of yourself, because although we haven't done studies on it, I believe it's less than 1% that ever have the ability to say, hey, I built my own home. I had a hand in the design and everything else that went with it. So it's a lot to be proud of when it's all over and done. But like Joey's saying, it's your decision, but we'll give you resources to make it easier in getting the land you want.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary. No, great thoughts. In particular, I like what you said about just avoiding discouragement. I think that's where a lot of people get hung up. To me, if you have this kind of sliding scale up to 100% finished built home, you're trying to get up there. I feel like it's hard to get the momentum going just to buy the land and get going. Sometimes once the people buy the land, they kind of fall in a little bit of a gap and they lose the momentum. What they really should do, what we really encourage all of our clients to do, like you said, you got the land, get going. Don't hit pause, keep going, because it can be hard to, if once you lose the momentum, it can be hard to get it back. Okay, it is amazing how fast 25 minutes can go by. So we're running short on time. Let's do a couple just real quick fire questions, like 20-30 second answers. We'll try to knock a few of these out because there was some really good questions. Okay, I'll do a couple. Can you build a home of my own design, or do you only build your homes? Okay. My answer to that is, are you sure you want to build a custom home? So short answer, we only build the homes that we design, but chances are we can modify a house, help you save hundreds of thousands of dollars, and maybe even years of time to build that house, literally. I had one client who saved, I'm not even kidding, probably saved about $700,000 instead of doing a custom home, building a very upgraded, beautiful. It's going to be one of the most beautiful houses we've ever built. I can't wait to see it. Okay. How much time does this all take to accomplish? Gary, you specialize in Kitsap and Mason. What's the time frame on a project?
16 to 20 months.
Perfect. I think it's about the same here in Pierce County, Lewis County. I think Lewis County is a little bit faster, but King County is the worst. Add 6 months to any project. It's a 2-year process. Okay. we'll do it. We're happy to build for you, but you know, we don't really build north of Renton, roughly. Okay. Let's see. Try to squeeze in one more here. Okay. Construction loans. Can I use my own bank? Gary, you want to take that one real quick?
Simple and direct answer is no. We are very, very good at researching our lender list. And there's a lot of folks that offer construction loans because they're profitable, but just as many of those folks don't do it well. And we can explain the difference when we were to meet, but we firmly believe we've got the 5 best sources of construction lending. They're absolutely competitive for you. They practice the same form of customer service in terms of calling people back as quickly as we do. And we don't think you can do any better.
Love it. Great answer. Okay. And we'll squeeze in just one more real quick one. Let's see. I just lost it. Okay. What if we want to order our own materials? Can I install my own flooring, my own cabinets, my own shower? Coming from a construction background myself, I totally get it. I've done my own kitchen redesign years ago. But no, unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to do that, and you wouldn't want to do that for a couple of reasons. The main reason is you do not want to risk hitting a delay in your construction project. You also don't want to risk very good warranties and things like that. Also, if you're working with a lender, a lot of times that will throw some red flags in that policy. So no, what we want to do is help you build a home that's going to have a good warranty. It's going to last forever. It's going to be an awesome house. We'll get as many things in there as you would like us to. If there's something very custom, very specific, or maybe something you want to do yourself, we just need to at least do our standard. That's all we do. And that way we're making sure we're building you the house that you need on time with the right warranty and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Okay. That's as much time as we have. But again, if you're watching this recording later, if there's a question you have about anything we've discussed today, or you have another frequently asked question, please give Gary or myself a call, send us an email, shoot us a text. We can't wait to talk to you about your project, and we're excited and privileged to be able to work with you on your future home building plans. So we're very privileged to be able to do that. And Gary, thanks again for joining us from Kitsap. I'm out here in Tacoma, and just speaking for both of us, I know this is an awesome privilege to be able to work with so many awesome families building houses. So yeah, we appreciate it. And all of you joining us, thank you. We will catch you later. Okay. Thank you so much for working with Coval. We'll talk to you later.